Mr. Gupta, you're not audible, I guess.
Hello? Is it? Hello?
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Now it's okay.
So when on 13th March, we were told that, you have to work from home, this was something unbelievable. I mean, I've never worked from home, but these are very, very difficult times. But I also take it as a disruption. That is life, nothing is permanent, and change is the only constant. This is a change. We need to look at it differently. We need to, more than anything, we need to look at it disruption. There is a challenge. There is a challenge everywhere. Working from home first is a challenge. Managing your family essentials is a challenge. That's a second challenge. Managing children who are not used to staying at home is a challenge. Contacting, for sales team and the team which is customer facing, not able to contact customers is a challenge. Getting people in plants is a challenge. Making people to work is a challenge. People are scared. Organizing supply chain and logistics challenge, but we have to look at different ways, because firstly, we are in an industry which is serving people, which is serving humanity. We are not, it is essential that we stand up to this challenge and deliver not only for our people, for our country and for mankind, because world is looking at Indian pharma industry. So we got to stand up and deliver. We have to find means and ways. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shankar. Shall I request now Mr. Vishesh Parekh to share his perspective?
Morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. As Mr. Gupta said, I'm reminded of an old English saying. And this saying is, how do you make the Almighty laugh? And you make him laugh by telling him your future plans. And probably what this pandemic has actually taught us, or is teaching us as we go along, is no matter how big plans you make, one needs to be adaptable to be able to change very fast. Because the tiniest of things can change your mega plans in such a way that one cannot think of. In fact, there was one very interesting calculation which somebody sent me, that each of these coronavirus is 0.85 attograms, is 0.5 into 10 raised to minus 18. And you multiply it by 70 billion viruses, which is required in a human body, and you multiply it by 30 million. So the total weight comes in the whole world of this virus is 1 gram, around 1 gram. So how 1 gram can change the whole world? And I actually do find it a little ironical, because we are here trying to plan for the future, when actually what is being taught to us is you really cannot plan much. But I believe that, I guess that human mankind is used to live in an age of certainty, and we would always like to make sure that there is something which is reasonably certain in the future. And I do believe that this will go away. I mean, it's a question of time, whether it is going to be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or a year, but we will come back to what we were. And I think what is more important for planning is that what do we do when this occurs again, because it will occur again. Thank you so much, and we will see how we handle the pharma industry on this. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Vishesh. Yeah, shall I request now Mr. Narasima Raju?
Yeah, good morning all. So as you all are aware, mainly the pharma industry, how it runs, you know that. So lot of, it's completely regulatory driven, and lot of procedures, GMP practices are followed. So mainly the focus was mainly on the product safety. So post COVID situation, so a lot of things were changed. Apart from the product safety, so the human safety also, the main focus has been changed. So mainly there, some things which have been implemented like zoning or otherwise sanitization and fuming of buses and facilities. So social distance maintenance, so many things which has been changed and which have been followed as a procedure, part of procedure on the human safety prospect. And coming back to the expectations like post-COVID, mainly in the operations. So like our delegates, they have mentioned, so we have to ensure that the medicine is always available in the reach of the patients. To ensure seamless operation, so we have to continue our operations. So that it's a real challenge. Our team really working on to that. And mainly we have to ensure that all our operations seamlessly, it will go on continuously, and then there are no interventions like. So in between we face some challenges like some of the equipment issues and all we have faced, but somehow with the support of all our OEMs and equipment manufacturers, so we could connect online, and then some of the issues we could resolve through video calls and all. But most important thing is like the equipment what we design, it should be designed like a missile, so it should work without any intervention. So that is the thing which needs to be looked at. And whoever equipment is they are operating, so they are like a driver, so they are the owner of the equipment. So like we should follow like I run, I maintain, and I comply. So I take care of everything. So rather than following reactive approach, we should follow predictive and proactive approaches needs to be followed. And we absolutely work with zero intervention. So that then only the medicines can reach to the people and to the patients, and it will fulfill all the patient needs. So we all have to play a very big role to achieve this. And digitization also, it is very important thing which needs to be focused during this corona times. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Raju. May I request now Mr. Ashis Banerjee to share his perspective, please. Ashis, you have to unmute yourself.
Good morning,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for this opportunity to be part of this forum. One of the things I noticed was the exponential increase of participants as soon as the time drew near for the webinar. And what's interesting is exponential has become a very scary word in this current corona thing. So the only time it is really interesting and exciting is the exponential interest, and therefore a joint collaborative effort to address this issue. Ironically, it's almost 100 years since we had the last pandemic. So I don't know, I hope, we're past this, and we're also prepared for a future. As my colleagues mentioned earlier, that this has become the age of irrationality, which means that to a large extent, all our conventional modes of even attempting to predicting the future are being now recalibrated. So having said that, in terms of what lies ahead for us is a very, very disciplined and cautious, approach towards addressing this challenge. We have a whole responsibility because we're the second largest populous country in the world, and we have huge masses of people who have a sense of helplessness beyond anything we can imagine in the confines. Going forward, I think we have a significantly higher responsibility in our own respective roles to be able to work together and address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah.
May I request now Mr. Ramanathan, please?
Good morning, all. Thank you for the invitation. Pleasure being here. I must say that most of them have said much, but see, we, the pharma and pharma machinery industry too, have turned to be the salute-worthy brave warriors like our dear cops, doctors, and many of those great humans who are out in the pandemic, giving their best to the society. Wishes to all to be safe. The situation around us today is not something we have ever experienced. It is an external, uncalled experience. Every medium, every channel, whatever you see, there's no news other than this pandemic. As said by Ashis ji, that in the last 100 years, it is the third, rather the worst of all the disasters that has happened in the world. But one thing I think to some extent to be pleased about is that we are not in those very difficult time industries like tourism, banking, real estate, retail, or auto, etc., where the impact is much, much more. Sad to say this, but we are blessed to be in one, which is the very essential one. But even if there is an impact, I'm very confident we are bound to revive and thrive for better. Overall, the industry has to relook, reassess, reorganize, and the business outlook has to be totally changed. That's what I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Ramanathan. Mr. Shaunak Dave, please.
Good morning, everyone. I will share my screen. So good morning, everyone. Have you ever seen a tornado is transformed into a rainbow? Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam has said that adversity is always present, opportunity of introspection. And when we do the introspection, the opportunities and potentials is pop up. Pandemic of COVID-19 has brought immense potential. Yes, there are severe repercussions. We all know. We will not go about it. We see that what is the potential for the Indian pharma machinery manufacturers and the pharmaceutical industry, what we can do. Very importantly, there are three impacts. One is on a global, second is on the industry, and third is on a self. The global, there is a need for transparent communication and collaboration. And you see that if, the pandemic communication would have been happen, much more faster before, things could have been different. And with the collaboration, I mean, this is in the world's, this will be the new vaccine will be identified and researched within a very short time, record time. That is the power of collaboration. Then there is a thought process shift of global interdependency. Previous COVID-19 era, everybody was talking about country-specific barriers to business, barriers to restriction, but now the global interdependency, and especially for India as a global pharma manufacturing hub, is a huge opportunity. On the industry, yes, connect with the entire ecosystem. There is a lot of fragility on our supply chain systems. And I would see that the industry has presented us immense opportunity on the digitalization with Industry 4.0 and end-to-end supply chain, where we can create a visible, secure, and integrated supply chain. And of course, coming back to the self, of course, in this last pandemic and lockdown, our goal is also shifted from success and money to health and happiness, and living from materialistic to Japanese concept called Ma to the sustainable living. Now, these are the two learnings that how we can pharmaceutical industry, as Mr. Narasima Raju said, that predictive maintenance integrated, like it's like a missile, it has to go. I would say that leveraging digitization is not luxury, but is a necessity, where the typical, simple, linear transformation of supply chain is happening into integrated supply chain ecosystem, and automation and Industry 4.0, where all of us can build the value towards it. Now, coming back to the last thing about what we do now, how we can support our pharmaceutical industry. I would talk about this later on, but we can help them. Now the coin is flipped. Previously, the pharmaceutical industry is asking us that, do you have a local support? It can be reached us within 3 hours. Now the coin is flipped. Now the industry will ask us that, do you equip with the digital technology to give us a remote support in this kind of pandemic? And there are several things that we can do, and I can answer on that later on. But thank you very much. This is from my side, opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaunak. And thanks to all the panelists to give an excellent head start. I will start with a question to Mr. Raju first, being from user industry. Just to tell us.
So sorry,
yeah,
we have received few comments from the chat box stating that all the panelists are requested to increase their mic volume because you're a little not audible. So in that case, you can keep the mic besides your mouth or something, or you can be nearer to the mic so that your voice is audible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ankit. Okay, Raju, coming back to you.
Yeah.
What challenges are faced by organization in running a manufacturing activities with minimum workforce, minimum support from machine manufacturers than what used to get before, at the same time maintaining safety of the employees? Can you share that, please?
Yeah, sure. So as explained before, so the pharma is an essential service and we all have to continue producing our medicine. So during this process, especially in the COVID time, we were operating with the minimum workforce by dividing into two shifts instead of 3 shifts. And the challenges mainly we faced with the equipment operations. So certain areas when the equipment is under breakdown, it was tried by our engineers to resolve it. But some places where we could not resolve the issues, so there we could reach out to the OEMs through online, and we had video calls through them. So they are given a video assistance through the video calls. And most of our equipments we bought, in fact, it is having online connectivity. So thereby the OEMs could take the system online to support us. So it was that piece of option in the equipment, it really helped us a lot. And to ensure our projects are going on to meet our future product requirements, so some of the equipment which needs to be commissioned. So since we don't have the engineers from OEMs on board in this pandemic situation, so they helped us through the online, through a video calls, even to commission the equipment. So we really, our team could commission the equipment to come out of the situation. It helped us a lot. So like I mentioned, so these digitization aspects of the equipment and predictive and proactive approaches that rather than following reactive approaches, and zero interventions, and by making our equipment more robust, it really helps us a lot.
Can you share something more on the safety of the employees, how you maintain in the plant? Because these employees to come also they go home.
Yeah. So mainly we have ensured that the fumigation for the buses are taken place, and mainly in all entry and exit points, the people, they use completely the sanitizing agents. So, and those are again touch-free sanitizing agents. And we have divided the entire operations into multiple zones, so that the respective people who are operating in their function, they are limited to only that particular zone. And some of the people tracking system, suppose if one person, if they need to cross their zone and go to the other zone as per their need, so they have to follow certain procedures. Those procedures have been established. So, and creating awareness to the people on the social distance part, when they are in the company or when they are outside, especially when they go to the marketplaces and all, so that awareness has been created a lot. So see, these are the some steps which have been implemented to ensure that.
Yeah, thank you, Raju. I see Vishesh, we like to add something on this. Please.
I just wanted to check, Mr. Raju, you have done everything which is necessary, but I think all us machinery manufacturers here, whenever we used to have a discussion internally on our, let's say, chat group, one question which nobody could answer, and maybe Dr. Reddy has already did this, what is your contingency plan if somebody who is COVID active is found within the plant? Has Dr. Reddy's created some contingency plan for such a thing?
Yeah, so absolutely, Mr. Vishesh. So that, like as I mentioned, the zoning. So that is one of the action plan as a part of this. So when you make this zoning and when you limit the people to their respective area, so if one person, if he is affected in that particular zone, so that the entire operations need not to be stopped. That is the point number one. And point number two, and we are doing some mock-ups in our regular operations. Suppose if any person, if we get affected with the COVID, how he need to be treated. So mock-up plan is in place, isolation rooms are in place, and how again the patient needs to be treated. So like the special PPE and all those arrangements have been done. So the entire plan is in place.
Okay, thank you. Now there is a question. There may be some machines or a critical space under clearance from customs. And can you please share the issues faced and how you tackled it, Mr. Ramanathan, please? You have to unmute.
Yeah, I did. So we do have a lot of consignments, shipments, spares, and equipments that comes from Japan, US, and other countries. So we had a lot of challenges. We did have the clearing and forwarding agent to reach even port like Navasheva. He had no transportation. Flow operations were there at the CFS because there was the container freight station, no labor. There was, or rather, less labor. Absence of mechanical device, forklifts, and cranes were not there. Then haphazard placement of containers, piling of containers here and there. Detention periods were getting over, and charges was being levied by the shipping line. Dock, de-stuff, delivery, labor, even minimum labor, factory de-stuff permissions. A lot of increase in transportation cost by the transporters in light of no driver, no vehicle available. So there were a lot of challenges we had, but a lot of interesting work which was done in a very short span of time by the exim team. The logistic team was carpooling was done by the CHAs. Prior tracking of the shipments and containers were done well in advance. Prior filing of documents to customs to avoid late filings or to avoid any waivers. Documentation verified and completed in all respects. Prior licensing with the container freight station for labor and mechanical instructions. Lot of them, like even if there were loaded deliveries to which can absolve any kind of destuffing problems, we could take fully loaded deliveries. LCL cargoes were not even being spared with the ground rents, but at least if you had an FCL cargo, you had the ground rents were also waived to some extent. Prior licensing with transporters were done with proper e-pass for vehicles with RTO for smooth commuting. So a lot of them, but in all preemptive actions in terms of documentations, filing with customs, information on loaders, these were all done in proper manner. That could help us to reach the consignments to the customers. But there were also problems for our countries, these principals as well, because they could not have many of their consignments moved on time because of those challenges which they had. Even though many of the shipping line had waived off their detention charges, including the cargoes of hazardous nature, but still we could manage among all of those challenges across with some preemptive planning.
Okay, thank you. But did you had any issues with the transportation or the movement of goods from the customs or the ports to the location?
Yeah, very much. In fact, we had to pay more. We had to even extra pay and reach out some of the consignments from the port. There was a lot of permissions to be taken as well to move the goods. Even some of the our own vehicles which were utilized for transportation was also had to be taken with some permissions. So it was quite an amount of work and not a simple task, very unusual.
Okay, thank you. Another question to Ramanathan, you it's again. See, as all of us know, hydroxychloroquine tablets are in heavy demand, at least few days back. Now the lot of issues have come up now. But at that time, domestic and export demands were much more, and those are quite challenging. Can you share your experience in supply of tools and other accessories uninterrupted so that customers can produce goods, tablets, and to meet all the challenging demands?
Yeah, wow, this was really interesting because March 20th to, March was the fiscal year end, and 20th to 30th is the maximum sales happening moment. We had a lot of plans, and due to this lockdown and increase of hydroxychloroquine requirements, the tool requirements started increasing to so much extent. But our management had a very simple motto, which was always there: the human life first against any other monetary advantage. So we had a lot of top 10 pharmaceutical companies to initiate the work in this situation of curfew lockdown. And they also supported us very well with necessary letters to explain to the authorities. Our HR team did an amazing work. We could get permission from the local bodies, the cops, and authorities, because we have 5 facilities in Gujarat and Bombay. And almost about, there was a limited number of people to be there in the workforce, but still we had to do more with less. 255 of around workmen were to be brought in across the company. The lot of precautions had to be taken. The precautions were to be approved. So we like transportation arrangement, then fumigation, sanitization, temperature sensors, stopping the biometric entries, sanitizers at shop. So first we all did this, and then after the changes that we had done was approved, then we started the work. Many of the orders, other than the hydroxychloroquine, we had to keep them on hold, and we made the prioritization according to the current needs of hydroxychloroquine. And normal deliveries were 4 to 6 weeks, but the team's efforts were so much that they all participated, and we could release them in 3 weeks' time. Another interesting thing is we got all these supportive industries to us, like the coatings and other treatment companies, to take necessary permissions. And we also made them join hands with us to be a part of the pharma drive, enclosing the demand of the domestic as well as the international market. But believe me, the pharma companies also did an amazing job. They supported too good on the logistics work. And there was a real hand-in-hand partnership that we could see they arranged special vehicles. They took their goods as well when we were struggling. So it was a real good team effort done by the pharma companies as well as our team members to reach out things on time.
Thank you, Ramanathan. Now I'll move to Ashis and Shankar. Can you throw some light on services, on the troubleshooting, support, and what do you recommend, whether there should be sufficient stock of space or something critical space to be stored in this such trying times? Ashis, you can start first.
Well, basically, first of all, for a long time, we've essentially worked with systems or designs. Operation is still something is the holy grail of the future, but the duty cycles for the components were already designed for a virtually continuous operation. But having said that, there is an obvious wear and tear on components and parts. So what we did is we've actually analyzed and been able to predict the wearing of a part and mandated to clients that they actually store or keep these parts in stock, as well as we've also engineered systems in a way that they're easily replaceable. Now, from the records we've had from the period of the lockdown, we've had minimal or no issues per se on the supply and or repair of parts. But having said that, one of the things we are exhorting our clients to do is to buy OEM spare parts, because unfortunately, for reasons of contingency, we find that some of our clients were buying parts on an ad hoc basis for breakdown maintenance.
To the root of that problem. So what are the parts which needs to be verified and how we can address that? So if we can have some virtual imaging kind of techniques, if we can make use of those things, mainly for rectifying the problems, because the problems are not same every time. So sometimes we get a different problem. So if we can have that kind of virtual techniques available, and if we can make use of that as a part of equipment, so it will be so helpful. So mainly right now, in our HMS, we have the recipes, we set it, we operate the equipment. Apart from that, okay, if any problem comes up, we get the alarm. But to do the maintenance, if we have this kind of models, it will be really useful.
Okay, thank you. Ramanathan, would you like to add something on this? You have to unmute.
Okay, most of the machines do have, and there is also a conscious effort being invested in this area. We also had some demonstrations done in the last PMEC as well. Suppliers also have understood the value and need for the same overall. Online support also needs certain conditions at the site as well, like say uninterrupted power, good net connectivity, better skill set of individuals who should assist the subject and so on. This is the complaints demand in the machinery world today. You must be knowing that the cost of services globally is very expensive. So many of the global equipments have this in place, but the only thing is bringing this value across the Indian pharma industry against some cost and commercial considerations is always a challenge. But as the discussion that is on today to bring in the best to the industry forward at this situation, these things have to be put into practice. I would say video manuals, building inside in the systems, easily operatable, that too in multi-languages, be it hard and soft manuals, also should be the need of the time. the guidance and demonstrations will go in a long way in avoiding any physical support, which should be the goal. Also, the extent of training and support provided during the initial phase of the machine from now on, or whatever that you can take at this stage, is also very important. It should, and the refreshers that you give time to time should help you controlling the situation by, easy telecon methods. Like we also had some time zone based telecon support. Like in some countries where it was at different times, we were at different time intervals, but still the service engineers were able to support. So that was possible because you had a right skill set of individual there who was working on the machine as well. So then the overall remote assistant goal supports, but the journey is really endless. There must also be some amount of planning done in terms of the URS that is being made in the customers from now on, wherein the equipments that are likely to be procured must comply to these age requirements, which would force any supplier to bring about the same in their equipments rather than expecting it later. So that's what I would like to say.
Yeah, thank you. Shaunak, you stressed upon the digitization in your opening remarks. And there's a question on that. How much digitization has impacted the support?
I will share my screen to show the video. We started digitization on the support for last 10 years. So initially it was like a Skype tool or GoToAssist or taking control of our controller and setting the recipes and all. But then after being a global company, we realized that it's not going to happen because it's not a problem. As Mr. Narasima Raju said, that what if about the maintenance? Yes, there is a setting up the recipes, the parameters and all. We understand that taking the control of controllers and change it is fine. But for maintenance, so last 5 years, we have come up with remote tech support with augmented vision. We call it Optel smart glasses. So you wear the glass, or we also, as part of our SLA, we offer our customers that you buy our smart glasses. So in case of any emergency, because in generics, the plants are running 24/7. So in case of any emergency, and apart from that, we have implemented the digital service process digitization, where there is a global service call number. Anybody can, and we have our footprint across the world, all the continent. So when you call the toll-free number, who is working in India or in US or in Canada or in Brazil or in Europe, somebody would pick up all our data are there on our platform. So even if, we have installed something in India and if there is a remote tech support in Ireland, we can see what exactly the problem is. And then we recommend that, okay, you wear the Google Glass and show us exactly the problem is. And it's a very effective technology. And day by day, it is getting more and more, adopted, where you can not only just capture the photographs or video recording or something, but also you can share where exactly the problem is. The second thing in this kind of need, I'll take one important aspect of it, is that trust that Vishesh Bhai has said. And 2 days back, we have completed one FAT. It's not online by video, but customer has really taken the control of our controllers on a complete serialization line. In 2 days, completely we were together, and I'll just scroll to a video in our plant. It's a real participant would be really interested. So this is the system. We are doing the real FAT. The customer has taken the control of our system, all that, and also there is a chance that like we are showing them the video also. So these are the things that the digitization has changed the face, and that Mr. Shankar Gupta has said the next phase would be the Industry 4.0, where the predictive maintenance support and integrated digital platform, where we don't need to do the process ordering and everything. It has to be completely automated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Shaunak. Shankar, would you like to add something on this?
Yeah. Now, what has happened that, most, except for our granulation lines, most of our machines manufactured in India. However, ACG generally competes with all the best in the world. So what has happened now, what we have thought is that, when you say that a machine is designed in India, whatever you say that you have the best design facility of the best engineers, customers' perception is always that the European machines are better. But where India can have an edge, apart from pharma, that's one industry where India is a global leader, is IT. So we thought that we will leverage the Indian IT to have a leadership position for ourselves and globally. And today, you know, all our customers are working on Industry 4.0, which is leveraging the big data, which is metrics-based data to dashboard setup for getting real-time KPIs. So what it does is that in manufacturing, it streamlines the manufacturing process, enhances efficiency, reduces waste, and for our customers, for the engineering teams, planned maintenance, avoiding breakdown, keeping less spare part, and avoiding the inventory. So what we have done is that first we are doing the proof of concept in our capsules plant, because that's a process plant, and that we can directly replicate it to our customers. And we have identified few customers and we are doing it at two level, at product level, machine level, and at a plant level. And incidentally, Dr. Reddy's is also one of the partners in our digitization process. So there's a huge focus across the organization. There's a complete different team to work on the IIoT procedure, IIoT complete setups, and which will work on the predictive. So primarily right now we are doing on preventive. The next step will be go to predictive, and finally we'll go to prescriptive. So one stage we are working with our capsule plant where we are using data to improve our efficiency. And second stage we are working with 3 customer partners, and DRL being one of them, with our proof of concept and our the maintenance of our products and also services. And on the next phase, we'll take it up to the market. So that's what we are working. Is a huge investment going on. Any of you who have come to PMAC, there is a separate room that we had for our IIoT. And yeah, so that's a journey that we are moving very fast.
Shankar, could you please continue on the supply chain security measures in this uncertainty, and then followed by Shaunak to respond further?
So as I mentioned before, that our products compete with the best in the world. But a few years back, we realized that, you know, the European generally have very good supply chain. I mean, their vendors are best, but unfortunately, we are very small vendors. So that challenge, and with that, it is little difficult to compete with the best. So what we did is that in the early 2010, we invested hugely in manufacturing facility in a place called Shirwal in Pune. You know, we have the best of high-speed machines, and probably it's one of the Asia's best facility for manufacturing components. So now we are supplying all the critical components go there. The most important thing is to making sure that, because that's an important part of our critical part of our supply chain overall. So maintain that part is like, like we have maintained it like pharma company. As Mr. Raju said, we are making sure that there is distance, social distance, there is PPs provided, there is, the antiviral fogging in all our buses, to making sure that, and there is the people are into particular stations, they're not moving, so that if there's any challenge, that station only is impacted, making sure that supply chain is completely maintained from that part. Having said that, we also have vendors. So we are also engaging with all our vendor partners, and also with we have very efficient supply chain teams. So we are also engaging with all our vendors all over the world to make sure that it is interrupted. So far our supply chains has worked very well. Whatever essential things that is required, whether it's spare parts or our format parts or essential machines which were there, we have been able to complete. And so the vision that we had few years back of investing in an integrated supply chain is really yielding result today.
Yeah, thank you, Shankar. Shaunak, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mr. Gupta has shared the perspective of the machine manufacturer. I would like to share perspective of the pharmaceutical industry, where the things can go and where the fragile supply chain, the identified problem during the pandemic of COVID-19. Optel, we have implemented, traceability solutions, and it is generating a lot of data into the secondary packaging line. And we thought that, there are a lot of problems in the pharma supply chain that can be solved with the data. And that's how it comes with the end-to-end traceability, where there is a collaborative platform. This collaborative platform, and Optel is working, and we have implemented a couple of cases where there is a collaborative platform, and complete all the functions, right from the raw material procurement, machine processing, till dispatch, distribution, and the end consumer. These all are being together. And when you have the end-to-end supply chain, this is the first phase where you have a complete security, visibility, because you are identified through the unique label code or unique traceable code. And then, like for example, in this pandemic, if you have to maneuver few stocks from one place to another, there is no visibility. The visibility is on the paper. And with this supply chain traceable visibility, you can have complete integrated, which will be secure. And now the third stage, as we mentioned, is about the disruptive technology. So based on the pandemics happening across the world, it will predict that, where this another pandemic is going to happen, how we are supporting, and then harnessing the demand with the manufacturing and the raw material. Because if you see the pharma supply chain, our 70 to 80% API dependability is on China. And whatever we are manufacturing, we are half of the medicines we are exporting. So this is where the industry is going to, and this is a huge opportunity. We all should take participation into it and make our Indian pharma machinery the better, faster, and more robust.
Thank you. No, I'm sure that digitization automation will be the future for all the pharma industry to consider while ordering or making USP on that. So thank you for your responses. I'll move to the Raju and Vishesh to respond. Can you share the examples of the best practices undertaken in the current situation for the benefit of all of us? Raju, please.
Yeah, sure. So the best practices, as I mentioned, about the people safety, the measures which we have taken that I briefed about. And the other aspects are like by looking at the continuous operations of our pharma, by ensuring that zero interventions. So mainly the focus area right now, we are having so many digital options which are available in the market. One more thing is like we should not forget about our basics. Whatever the field components we make, which are part of our equipment, we have to make sure that those components are robust, and we have to follow the step-by-step approach rather than going fast. As mentioned by Mr. Shankar, so we are making a lot of IT products that we are supplying throughout the world. So there we are following a step-by-step process. We are doing a lot of testing and ensuring that the final product, it is absolutely a quality product. So the same approach which can be followed even in our equipment manufacturing also, and ensure that whatever we are making it, whatever we are putting into the operation, it's absolutely working without zero interventions. So that is one thing which I would like to say about.
Yes.
And the other best practices is now post-COVID, the thought process of the people is definitely going to change, as I mentioned by all delegants. So the change is always inevitable. So we have to look at the opportunities on improving our systems. And another part is like we have to have completely end-to-end automation solution, because whatever we work, whatever we do, it has to add value to our life. Suppose if I'm standing in front of equipment or in front of if I'm doing an operation there, simply I'm putting a bottle in the carton for my lifetime, it's of no use. So let's go for complete automation aspects and give an opportunity for the people to add value in their life by learning something about the equipment and all for their bright future.
Oh, thank you. Vishesh?
Talking of best practices, of course, I look at it two ways. Number one is, no matter what we talk of digitization, automation, online support, there is nothing like a human hand on a machine. And this will remain. In the whole age of industrialization, we have gone through that. Today, I've got the most sophisticated, latest laptop in my hand, but when it breaks down, I need somebody to sit on this and work on it. So anybody who thinks that everything is going to happen in a virtual cloud, I think is in a virtual cloud. Hands-on is required, and the only way we would be able to improve this practice is if this skill, which is there at the moment with a machine manufacturer's operator or a technician, is worked out in some way which is transferred to the operator at the user end. This would be a practice on a long term which a pharma industry and as a machinery supplier, we both have to see that how is it that this skill we are able to transfer it to a user, because a lot of the skill of a user, I can understand, is being taken up by automation. Because earlier what a operator used to sense a temperature, now let's say we have a temperature sensing which is doing it. We have lots of tools which are available, which is taking away the skill from an operator. However, this cannot be ever completely replaced. We will have to have boots on the ground, as they say. And to avoid having the boots of a machine supplier on the ground, it is better that the skill gets transferred. The second thing is from a pharma industry user side. We talked of right now online HMI checking and online support, etc. A very important thing is to know history, because it's only when we know, as a machine manufacturer, I know that it's only when I know the history of what has happened on a machine that I can predict what could happen in the future. And the pharma industry is pretty cagey at the moment of sharing data, especially historical data about what has happened in a batch in the past. And this again comes down to trust, that the pharma industry would probably, as a practice and as a best practice, if you can say, have to open up a little more and to share and trust the machine manufacturer to share their historical data, so that a machine manufacturer can also predict what could be done. So these are the two things which actually come to my mind on practices.
Yeah, thank you, Vishesh. Yeah, but I'm sure we can go on and on with all the wisdom and experience what all of you have. But before we end our interaction, I would like you to just extract one more thing, last one, that if you are to share just one critical point as a takeaway for the participants, then what it will be? Starting with Ramanathan, please.
So, the current time is very unfortunate and unexpected. But friends, I think we need to believe that these are bound to come in the way of our process of building and contributing to our nation's economy, strengthening our business and also our homes. So this is not going to stop only here. Such situations have to be accounted in for our business. Post-COVID, I feel it will not be the survival of the fittest, as said by Vishesh earlier. I feel it will be that of the quickest. Adaptability and agility will be quite important. We should probably from the annual targets to half-yearly targets in meeting our business needs. We should have a macro plan in place to stay with such new normals. But I hope we will have 3 good quarters to come up.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like panelists to just share just one point. Remaining all the points are taken care or will be taken care subsequently in the question answer session. Shankar, please.
Yeah, so this we need to take this as a huge disruption to our lives and our businesses. So here in the participant list, I'm sure that there are company owners, professional CEOs, departmental heads, functional heads. So I just one request to everyone that use this opportunity to build efficiency in your business. Pharma industry as compared to FMCG and few other industries has not been efficient, and also our industry. So build efficiency through digitization, upgrading processes, automation, and improving productivity of people. To drive efficiency, then even in the lean period, whenever you have, even if there are challenges, you can run your business very efficiently and smoothly. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, thank you. Ashis, please.
I'm going to give, my only inputs I'm going to give, for which I own no copyright to Sadhguru. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that a lot of us, each one of us who are participating in discussion, is for a long time thought about, man, if I had the time to really think and ponder and do things, I would do it much more better. So God willing, this lockdown period should end earlier than the most pessimistic estimates. But we should use this time first to spend the quality time with our families, which we've always hankered after. 2 is to use this time in our own creative ways to think of what we're going to do once we come out of this pandemic. And three, for God's sake, please cooperate with the government and the authorities. It's easy with the gift of hindsight to say that they should have done this or that, but stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Raju, please.
Yeah. So I would say that like we keep getting challenges in our life. So this is one of the challenge which we are facing right now. So whenever we get challenges, we have to act on to that. So as long as we act on to that and continue moving our journey, so absolutely we'll find a different solution. And always let us think everything as a positive, so we'll get more better solutions out of.
Yeah, thank you. And Vishesh, please.
Yeah, as Shankar said, be lean, and cut your flab and be ready for change, because change is gonna come. We will overcome this. There's no question about it. As I said earlier, we will overcome this COVID pandemic. And life will get back to normal. The only question is that how well are we going to be prepared for the next one? And just one thing to everybody here: please don't just look at your balance sheet and your bottom line. Think of your guys who are working with you, because for you it's probably a number on your balance sheet. For the poor peon probably who's working in your office, it's food on the table for his family. So bear this in mind always.
Yeah, thank you. And to end, Shaunak.
Thank you, Kaushik bhai. My concluding remarks would be, it's not about the artificial intelligence replacing human intelligence. It's not about the digital world is replacing the human world, but how the digital technologies can augment the human world to drive the innovation and efficiency for the next generation of our manufacturing business. I would say that leverage digitization, connect, communicate, and collaborate. The technology is there. Why don't we use it? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. With this ends our interaction. But before move to our question and answer session, we have started receiving plenty of questions, but I think Ankit has to do some poll survey. Ankit,
Correct.
Can you take over, please?
Yes. So we will be having a small poll session. All the participants, are requested to participate in it. You would be getting in the questions right in front of your screen. You just have to select one of the options as per your preference and what you think about it. And each poll will be for about 15-20 seconds. So this will just take 2 minutes before we start with our Q&A. Thank you. So Ria, can we have our polls, please? Okay, here is the first question. Which are the main challenges that your company is facing during COVID-19? Supply chain, lack of raw materials, lack of manpower, lack of service support. Okay, can we have the answers to this now? The majority of the people are saying supply chain is the main issue, that is transportation of their products, followed by lack of manpower and lack of raw materials. Okay, can we move down to the next question? How impacted will be your industry post COVID-19? So that includes manufacturers, machinery manufacturers, and medicine too. Unlikely to be impacted, partial impact, or you will see high impact. Okay, can we have the answers now? The majority of the people are saying partial impact, and 20 followed by high impact, and 19% are unlikely to be impacted. That's what they feel. Okay, next question. How is your company dealing with the current challenges caused due to COVID-19? Is it by innovating, by collaborating, Like cost cutting, or there's no change? You're working in similar manner as before. Okay, can we have the answers now? So majority of the people are innovating during this time, and I completely agree, and I'm sure all the panelists will agree to this as well, including all the participants. Yes, can we have the next question now? What would be the scenario of pharma machinery and equipments purchasing during or post COVID-19? So the purchasing will increase of machinery, purchasing will decrease, or purchasing will remain same as before. Can we have the answers? Wow. That's a good sign for all the machinery manufacturers. So purchasing will increase. Majority of the people are saying that 47%, followed by yes, that's also 30% are saying purchasing will decrease. Okay, next question.
Ankit, we have to move to other questions too.
Yes. This will be the last one, I think. Second last, yes. As per your assessment, by when do you see the situation to normalize? Can we have the answers? September is when the people think the situation will normalize. Okay, the final question before we start with our Q&A. What kind of exhibitions you will prefer to attend this year, assuming the situation normalizes soon? Would that be physical exhibition, virtual exhibition, or both? Okay, can we have the answers? Okay, so that's for us.
That's bad news for you, Mr. Munchen.
No, still, we are exploring the virtual side too, so not entirely. Okay.
I think next time we can remove this question.
No, of
So
course,
that's
if they have the exhibition during Oktoberfest, things may change.
Yes.
Correct.
This is the conception as on today.
Yes. Okay, now we can move on to the Q&A part.
Okay, we have received plenty of questions, but I'll just take up a few for the paucity of time. But at the same time, I'll assure that all the participants, so those who have asked questions, it won't be unaddressed. We'll be sending you by email all the questions responded duly by the respective panelist, or maybe the majority of the panelist, and you'll get your answer. So may not be today, but shortly you'll be getting answer if we cannot take up today. So first question which comes up, I think one subject which we didn't touch upon during our discussion regarding the projects. So what will have an impact on the project where the lead time is low, the shorter lead times, imported machines, at the same time supply transport systems are disrupted. I think Raju can little highlight on that little bit more, and maybe the other panelists who would like to respond further on that.
Yeah. So the projects, whatever we have planned, some supply chain part which is affecting, but absolutely we can overcome about that. Everybody are working towards that. But as long as we track our project on continuous basis, in fact, we are running all our projects. So when we take care of the people and if we continue our project operations, absolutely this won't get affected. So it will go as on.
Oh, thank you. That's a very positive sign. Would you like any machine manufacturers from the group to further respond on this? But it's okay. User is positive, so we got to be positive.
Yeah, I'm seeing three kind of trends. It's initial time, so it's very difficult to predict. But three First thing is that greenfield projects are definitely getting postponed. Customers which were ready to invest on an absolutely new project. The part two is the existing projects which are for existing expansions are intact. I'm not seeing any change. Even customers are saying that, you know, after lockdown period, we immediately start to deliver or whatever. So there is no change. And C part is there is an immediate opportunity coming up with organizations, maybe because of COVID or maybe because of some orders from somewhere, so immediate opportunities. So this is A plus B plus C. Now, sum of A plus B plus C will be positive or negative. It's very difficult to say at this point in time. It may be neutral to positive as the polls say, but yeah, so there are all types of, there are postponements, there are existing projects being continued, and there are new opportunities, all the sides.
Okay, thank you.
I think basically this will, Mr. Gupta, pan out in the following way. If there is a cure, an oral cure for COVID found, everybody who's in the tableting business, get ready. You're going to be in If there is a vaccine which is formed, anybody who's supplying sterile lines, get ready. So how the whole direction moves will really depend on what the scientific community finally comes out with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there's another question on the surface contamination, which has been talked a lot, and it's always debated whether the virus remains for 10 hours or 14 hours or few hours. So what steps the manufacturers or machine manufacturers are taking while delivering the goods, and what steps are taken by the user while accepting the machines or spares? Can you just throw light on that, Ramanathan, starting with that, and then maybe Raju can respond further on that.
Absolute care as we ensure those goods that are coming inside our factory, whether it's a raw material or whatever goods, the way we receive it, the way we decontaminate, we bring them inside our manufacturing yards, and the way we use it is the same kind of care that we should expect to be given to the ones that is leaving out of our factory. And at the same time, we should not stop there. We should go to the extent of as much as possible communicating well in advance what are the precautions that we need to take, in spite of the companies might take, but still we need to re-emphasize these points to them, whether, and by the time it enters into the manufacturing location, it must be as much as cleaned and sanitized as much as possible.
And then Raju, from how you receive it, once you receive, what you take care to, do you disinfect or do you do any other procedure to do that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, mainly for our facilities and our buses, even the boxes what we get. So we have a fuming procedure in place. So we are doing the fuming. And apart from that, there are many other technologies which are available currently. We have, I think most of our team members, they might have seen what happened in China. So there are like some of the VHP generators which can do the decontamination for the rooms that they are using widely for hospitals, schools and all. So even in India also, after the schools and shopping malls gets opened, so their use of that kind of technologies and doing the decontamination for those areas also. So there is a big potential and it's of really useful.
Okay, thank you. There is another question which has come up that we talked about digitization and
before we go there, Kaushik,
yeah, please.
Just one question. Ramanathan mentioned about sanitizing goods leaving from your factory. Yeah. Now I really wonder whether that is really going to help, because after it leaves your factory, it's going to go through such a multiple supply chain, changing hands so many places. I think what's more important is what Mr. Raju said is, how do you accept goods into your factory? Similarly, as a machine manufacturer, when you get raw material into your factory, or whether it's sheet metal or processed goods or whatever, how do you accept it? So I don't think it's too important to really worry about what sanitization you do when something is going out of your factory rather than what's coming in.
I said, Vishesh, that what we receive raw materials, the care that we need to take, is what we should ensure that it is taken at the customer's place, irrespective of the fact that they might practice it. So it's not that we sanitize and it goes back there again, they have to sanitize it again. You're right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's another question on this, what I was coming to virtual part of it, digitization and other areas. do you have a machine manager? What you foresee the future for virtual training for the operators or the user industry? Because that's not the option very much explored so far. Yeah, Ashis, I can see your hand on that.
Yeah, I mean, virtual training is going to become almost.
You are not audible. Ashis, you are not audible.
Hear me?
Please come again. You are not audible.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Remote training is going to become the new normal, along with remote audits, which will probably occur at our client's place. That's a sign of the times, because mobility in the intervening period is going to be much more restricted. I'm sure Mr. Raju will confirm that there will be a movement towards remote audits as well. So that is going to become a norm. It's not even a question of why, it's when. So, it's there. That's it.
Yeah, there is a question further on digitization. There are several machines already with the user industry which are not digitized or automated. Does the industry or machine manufacturers has a plan to upgrade those machines or support industry, pharma industry, to upgrade to a digitization level?
Oh, absolutely. Because, I know for certain, look at Gansons. I mean, our machines, which are even 30 years old, have been upgraded to the current standards. That's how we build our machines.
Oh,
to
thank
be
you.
Future ready. Yeah.
Good. Shankar, you were saying something.
Yeah, so that's absolutely essential, because when we go this path, there are a huge number of machines that each company has with customers. In our, as I was mentioning, when digitization, we had two levels of digitization. One is at the level of smart machines and smart factories. When it's smart machines, we are maintaining machines, including the machine suite, ACG machines. We do not have digitization. We are working on them to make sure that they become digital friendly. They can receive data. We can get the data from them. Also, when it's question of smart factory, which will happen eventually, we can take factories, and even with the machines which do not belong to ACG, we can maintain those, digitize and maintain those machines. So that's a larger thing that we are working. That will take some time, but we can work on that. There is a direction to that, and on a so definitely, to answer your question, definitely we will work on making sure that the products which are existing in the market are completely supported in terms of digitization.
Oh, thank you. There's another question which highly debated, at the same time to be thought of because of cash flow issue. It says that it will have impact on capex, it will impact on expansion, it will impact on automation, digitization, all the initiatives what company need to go for. So how you look at in the future about this cash flow management by the user industry as well as from the machine manufacturers, because current situation is not very encouraging. Yeah, please, Shaunak.
Now there is a very difficult situation where capex is a big problem. Now Indian pharma machinery manufacturers or global pharma machinery manufacturers, we need to look at the reinventing our business and offer our customer OPEX kind of models. It's just like, converting our CAPEX model where initial capital investment would be higher. How we can convert into the OPEX model that, 60 months or 5 years of equal monthly installment, or it is generated, because in other industries like construction industry, the car renting, there already this kind of, models are there. Yes, there are some problems into, because, pharma is a very regulated business. So ownership and depreciation is also to be addressed. But still, we need to look at reinventing our business to support the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah. Yes, Vishesh.
I would actually disagree with Mr. Dave, because the one thing post-COVID, which is going to be cheapest and easiest available, is cash. we are at the moment, I mean, an economist would obviously answer it much better, but we are today seeing unprecedented levels of cash being pumped into the global economy. Unprecedented levels. And this is going to increase. Interest rates are going to fall. Companies will have, or at least good organizations will have money available at no cost, almost no cost. So this is something which is actually going to help people, because every government wants to kickstart their economy, and the best way to kickstart is by making people spend. And that is the reason why cash is now so easily available. I mean, if you look at Europe today, I know it because we are working on something where annually, in terms, it's available at less than 1% to the end user per annum as a cost. 1% of interest, less than 1%. This is free. This is free money. So I don't see any reason when an organization like Dr. Reddy's, when it's getting free money, would need to go to a machine supplier and ask him to give it on a pay as you use basis, you know, because it's much cheaper for him to buy it outright.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have a view which is a little in between both of them. Yesterday, somewhere you read in all of us have read Business Standard yesterday. And it came that pharma companies are having challenge in cash because there is a huge two areas, because there is, I was in, incidentally, because I couldn't come here yesterday because I was in a hospital, and the hospital is owned by, it's a mid-sized hospital owned by a family, which are our family friends. They said that the non-COVID patients are not coming because they say that there is a challenge. Hospital is also not accepting, and they're also not coming because there is a challenge in, they're feeling the situation is challenging. And also people have hoarded medicines. So in short term, there will be a cash challenge because of these reasons, and which is there in the article. But medium to long term, yes, we will ease out of this situation. But I think there'll be a mixed situation in terms of cash. That's what I feel.
Yeah, thank you. Because it's also positive, because one of the questions in the poll survey was saying the capex is likely to increase, with majority said yes. So it's a win-win situation for all. There's another question on this again, data security while implementing remote support. So who controls the data and how you ensure that it's secure? Yeah, Shaunak.
So I'll give you an example of our smart glasses. So when we wear the smart glasses and the data is coming on the video recording or the documentation or anything else, after it is done, if the problem is solved, then after automatically in our system, the data are deleted, and we are issuing a security certificate to our customers that this data is not belong to Optel, or we will not have any data. So these kind of things, as Vishesh bhai also previously mentioned about the data security challenges, where we all, like manufacturers, suppliers, and the pharma manufacturers, we need to have the build a trust, and also it is backed by the technology of data security.
Yeah, thank you. Now there is another question which says about will this crisis in Europe, which is much more than expected, will shift the automation suppliers network outside of Europe, maybe to Japan or other areas where imported machines and imported parts you have to procure? What's the thinking process on that? Because we are Vishesh and Ramanathan, and all are working with European machines, and maybe others too. So what's your take on that?
Japan, currently, it's also under a very significant time of lockdowns, though the practices, the kind of discipline that they have is really amazing. But as we speak on almost every alternate day to one or the other principle, we find that there are also challenges that they are undergoing currently. And but on the other side, it's not so easy to get even though if it is tried to get the Japanese machines to be brought in the market, and it's not as palatable as easy like the European machines, because the way in which the Japanese machines, the expectation of the input and the commitment on their output is so much that they would like to have it in certain levels of practices. So it's not going to be a quick fix, quick situation wherein things can move from Europe to Japan. Europe is always going to lead, but still, I would say the pie from Japan could probably increase at the current scenario.
Okay, thank you. Now, the last question to Mr. Raju. What do you see as new points to be added in the URS for the new machine post-COVID? Considering the experience of this uncertainty and what we have felt that what challenges are coming in there.
Yeah, so as we discussed in this session, so so the digitization aspects like the virtual maintenance aspects and the online connectivity aspects, so and the other support which are related to the space management. So suppose if you need to identify some spare from the equipment, so those things should be incorporated part of our control system. So those things should be captured as a part of URS. If any of our other team members, if they would like to add, they can add a few more points.
Anyone? Yeah, Ashis? Ashis, you're not audible.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I think the era of generic URSs are going to pass now. I think clients will have to very clearly sit down, and if they need a participation, all of us are always there, and clearly determine what they want to use their processing system for. And it has to be very, very, very specific. More importantly, even this whole thing around 21 CFR 11 compliance from electronic records, it has to be clearly highlighted. It has to be clearly realized that there will be limitations as there is to any technology, and work within these confines. Because if we are targeting remote maintenance, if we are targeting remote regulatory audits and so on, we need to clearly agree as to how the system is going to operate and what is expected from it.
Okay. Yes, Raju?
Yeah, so let me add to Mr. Ashis. Like rightly said by him, so we have to, as a part of 21 CFR Part 11 requirement or data security requirement, so that needs to be very clearly defined even in our URS document also. Like making some kind of 21 CFR Part 11 checklist that should be made part of URS. And apart from that, the other, because URS is not your final document to finalize the complete scope and specification of your equipment. Absolutely, there should be a number of technical discussions has to happen, and a thorough technical evaluation document has to be made. And post multiple discussions, that should be made as a final document. Of course, apart from that, till we qualify the equipment, there are so many other documentation practices we are following that includes DQ, IQ, OQ documentation and all that. So that will keep continuing, and then that needs to be updated as per our requirements.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we almost come to the end of our time. And thank you once again, all of you, to support to conduct of this webinar. And I'll now switch over to Mr. Mahendra Bhai, who is the president for Indian Pharma Machine Manufacturers Association, to just give his concluding remarks. Mr. Mahendra Bhai, please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and appreciate all of you joining this webinar. We are happy to have more than around 500 plus participants at this webinar. COVID-19 is a huge challenge, with the whole world is struggling to find a solution. The global leaders are experimenting continuously to find an efficient solution in terms of safety and economics. Healthcare has a huge responsibility to play to fight against this pandemic, and pharma machinery are the weapon where the pharma industry will need to fight this war. Hence, this webinar was organized to understand that how we can collaborate and support each other to win this war. I thank all the panelists to share their expectations on how the industry should look to support the same. Thanking Kaushik Bhai to moderate the event, to get the best opinions from the industry leaders. They all have been in the pharmaceutical industry for years and worked with European, American, Japanese, Canadian companies, and all are Indian majors now exporting their own equipments globally. India is the pharmacy of the world, and they will be looking up to us for seamless supply of medicine to tackle this pandemic. It is a challenge, but as well as an opportunity for India. And I'm hopeful that our Indian pharma machinery manufacturers and the pharma industry will jointly strategize to win this war against Corona. Indian Pharma Machinery Manufacturer Association, which is IPMMA, and Messe Munchen India are planning to conduct a series of webinars to understand and share the needs of the industry. I request all of you to share your views for the topics that we need to cover from time to time, which you can send us an email or messages. I thank you all again for joining this webinar. Please stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you once
I
again.
just wanted to add that very soon we will be sharing the recorded version of this webinar to everyone, including the ones who could not join. And so we will be sharing that very soon. Thank you all for participating. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.